All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And tonight is my first night back after about 2 weeks without internet. Yeah, that's right. I didn't have internet for 2 weeks. We were trying to find a different carrier that was cheaper, and it turned out that we ended up going right back to the one we had. And ironically, the price is at least 50 to about $55 less than what we were paying last time. So that's something that's awesome. All right. So I've been doing a little bit of videos on my main Facebook page and in some groups on Facebook while I was killing time with my cell phone. Because with my cell phone, I can't do YouTube channels. For some reason, it just won't allow it. Don't know why, nor do I care. It's technology. It's got a mind of its own. But anyways, today, since we got the box in the mail and we hooked it up, activated it, and had internet, I've had the music channel on YouTube going all afternoon while I was in my inner sanctum. And I basically tore everything apart. I mean, I'm talking everything. Why? Because I wanted to cleanse it. I wanted to clean it. I wanted to reconstruct it. After the last few months of things, I wanted to begin anew. This means getting rid of tearing down the old and creating the new. For something to be created, you got to destroy, right? Well, that's basically what I'm doing. Yeah, it's turning out to be a bigger job than I thought. Namely because you got stuff that's been on the walls for at least a decade. Yeah, trying to get that off the wall after a decade, that's a pain in the ass. But still, it's happening. I got it thin enough that it's not really showing up, but the issue is the blood that's on the walls. So I got to find bleach or something that has a certain chemical in it to get it off and to break it off, but to clean it off. So that's something that's pretty cool, and it's something I've been doing all afternoon. And not only have I been scrubbing the walls, but I've vacuumed it out. I've swept out my inner sanctum. I've tore up one of the circle, the main circle that I had on the floor, and had to put down a whole new one because of the fact that I found out I had the wrong one down on the floor. Yeah, that kind of sucked. So I had to clean all that up, mop it down, put new stuff down, and then re-sanctify it. Consecrate it, bless it, the whole king caboodle. So I still got a lot more work to do in it, and I can do some more tomorrow on that, if not later today, later tonight. So that's pretty cool. So why don't we get down to what I wanted to talk about here today. Cleansing and purifying the inner sanctum. Anytime you tear down your altar, your any form of ritual series that you do. Let's say, for an example, you're working an entire month with Belial, King Belial, who bestows excellent familiars and bestows senatorships and titles and prominence upon you. Okay. Or you can go with, say, for an example, Lucifer, Lord of Light, Truth. Let him, get to know him, his current, his energy. A lot of people are trying to bring him into the draconic sense, the dragons. When in fact, the only one that actually had anything to do with dragons was Dracul. That's right, Vlad the Impaler. If anybody did bother to do their homework, they would realize this. Okay, and this is out of the book, the Red Book of Appin, by the way. For those of you who actually want to learn about Vlad the Book of Dracul. Okay, it was written by a scribe. Now, what's ironic is that when you do any form of rituals involving dragons, or say, for an example, the Elven, the Siddhi, maybe some form of month-long hexing and cursing type rituals, or even healing rituals, you really want to get in there and scrub everything down, tear everything down. Okay, you want to wash the tools, you want to wash the altar chamber down. You want to get a whole new setup going, and most importantly, you really want to, when you put things back together, you want to consecrate it, each and every single item. Okay, this means within the five elements. Okay, air, earth, fire, water, and spirit. Okay, and you can do this with a bowl full of salt. You can do it with a bowl full of water. You can do it with a candle flame. And obviously, you got air and oxygen all around you. So that's basically taking care of that. And then all you have to do is put your own spirit, your own, you know, invoke the spirit that you want into that inner sanctum for that next setup. And because of the fact that I've been working with the Massager Cabal system for the past year and a half, about just about a year and 7 months as of the end of this month, I've been doing a lot of things. I've got a lot of guidance going into this, and I feel that it was a much needed change. It was a time for a much needed change, and I figure if I'm going to do one thing, I might as well do all of it. So I wanted to turn this into a lesson plan, something that you can do on your own, especially if you're dealing with any form of sorcery. It doesn't matter if you're Luciferian. It doesn't matter if you're a traditional Satanist. It doesn't matter if you're into witchcraft, voodoo, you know, even in voodoo, that's a system that really needs to be respected. And this is why. When you look at the temple of the Loa, they always have one altar set up for a specific Loa. Then they have some kind of fine linen that blocks it off, okay, from another altar, okay? And on a different wall, they have a different Loa, okay, and so forth. I mean, what's interesting and ironic about this is that when you practice Wudang, or you practice Santa Morte, there's a lot of maintenance that you have to do to your altar room, your inner sanctum. And then when you rebuild it and you put everything back together, you really have to have the seals and the sigils. You got to have the circles, the proper circles, and you really got to break it all down into the type of ritual working that you're doing. Okay. For me, traditional Satanism, Voodoo, and witchcraft, sorcery, all in the overall sorcery, basically. From witchcraft, necromancy, Satanism, possessions, divination, the whole kit and caboodle. That's what I practice. Okay, that's what I'm into. But I'm always into the dark arts. So a lot of times I break things down normally within about a week, if not every other week, maybe once or twice a month, max. Okay? Just to break things down, cleanse it, purify it, sanctify it, get all that, what's that old term that people use in folklore? Oh, right, the bad mojo, that juju that you don't want in your life, that negative attributes, because a lot of times, even in the dark arts, you want to prosper, you want to benefit yourself, your family, and your clients. So to have a good, clean altar room where nothing, and I mean nothing, hinders it, is a good thing. So when you're doing a ritual of compassion, which can be broken down into numerous different minor rituals, Same thing with lust rituals or destruction rituals, depending on what you as the practitioner are looking to do. You want to really make sure that no lines are crossed, especially if you're using the inverted pentagram. Okay. You want that natural flow, okay, between them, between all the points. Not just the 5 points outside, but the 5 points inside. If you're using the hexagram or the, let's say, for an example, one of the planetary seals of King Solomon, you really want to make sure that the energy and the currents are flowing naturally but unrestricted. So you really want to burn some sage. You want to wash everything down, cleanse it, purify it, sanctify it, the whole king caboodle, just to make sure that it's up and running for you, for your next ritual. Now, unfortunately, because of how busy I am, I have a tendency to let it slip from time to time. The last time I reconstructed my altar was before this whole COVID-19, came into play, and so I ended up reconstructing my altar back in January, February area, which I believe was the last time I actually showed my altar. Back before I tore it down and redid it. So here we are, the seventh month, coming to a close in about a week, and it's something that I felt was time to get it done. Start from the top, work your way down to the bottom. And trust me, seeing how much soot, how much ash is in that altar room, it was a pain in the ass to freaking clean. Now I've got it mostly clean right now. I've only got two, maybe three spots of my inner sanctum left to do, and I can do that tomorrow. I've got everything else up and running. It's just a matter of getting the blood off the walls. It's a matter from the offerings and the opening of the gates and stuff like that. But more so, it's also about trying to get things open more. Because like I said, I managed to get, with what I moved around today, I managed to get maybe a foot. Okay, I'm talking 12 inches added on. Okay. But while I was sitting there drawing that seal on the floor, I was looking around the mini altar table behind me for the goddess, the one in front of me, the stuff that I had on my left, and I was thinking to myself, why not move this in there? But then I thought, well, you know what? This is too wide. It can't fit in that little cubby hole. But what if I moved this over there? That would open it up even more. That way I can move this altar table over here because I don't use that altar table anymore. I don't really use it very often, if any. So you really want to take a look at what you have in your inner sanctum. You got to look at what you got planned. What system of magic are you truly focused on? This is something that I think a lot of practitioners could really benefit from. I've said in past videos that you don't need to erect some elaborate, $90 billion altar room. You can use basic stuff. Use a rock, or if you're outside, use cardboard and just place the candles on it so the wax doesn't get on the floor. Make sure you don't, you know, spill the wax on the floor either. Trust me, that's a pain in the ass to get off too. And still, you're going to be left with stains from the candles, the wax itself. So, I mean, this is just personalized experience here that I've had to deal with over the years. Now, I didn't always have tile floors. I had carpet floors. I've had wooden floors. You know, I've done rituals inside and outside over a 30-year span. So the fact that I haven't really changed up this altar room in 10 years, That should tell you something. I think the only thing I've done in that room, outside of, how should I say this? Outside of changing the altar itself around, consecrating it and blessing it, putting more and more seals up on the walls from the beings that I've worked with. But like I've said in the past, as you grow, your altar grows. You know, your altar is going to shrink, it's going to grow, it's going to expand, and it's going to change, just like you and your practices. So, my practices are changing yet again. So, the altar room needs to change. So, like I said, it was a good time to get in there, clean the walls. And I can tell you, just from what I've washed so far on the walls, wow. I thought those walls were white, kind of a almost like a yellowy white. Uh-uh. It's more like a milky white. But yeah, so I mean, it's just too bad you can't paint the walls other colors. I mean, the landlord won't allow it. But that's something to also respect as well. So I mean, the fact that I'm getting ready to change my altar room for a satanic necromantic perspective of the Mesoteric Cabal system. You know, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a little while now. Just haven't had the chance to do it because of work and my two jobs, dealing with my family and other, other issues that pop up from time to time. Like right now, we've got my son's mother's car. It's all legal, up and running. The she just got an oil change done today. She's still got to do the brake fluid and the transmission flush and all that stuff. And then her car is good to go. And trust me, it's an older model. It's an '09. So, it's something good to do. But you got to remember that the older your vehicle is, the less likely you want to do a transmission flush and stuff like that because it will flush out all the positive stuff in your engine. So, and ironically, that actually goes along with what I'm talking about here too, because you want to be careful not to eradicate the energies that you've worked with in the past. You really want to build on it. So, I mean, just because you're washing the sigils off the wall doesn't mean you can't put them back. And it's just a matter of, now that you've got a lot more experience, it's a matter of rearranging them and finding the correct sequence on how you want to put these banners, these sigils, these seals up on the walls. Depending on which system you're working with. You consider you gotta, you with the banners, you want to go with the northeast, west, and south. But at the same time, you also want to work with these demons and the currents that you're working with. So, because I work with demons a lot, and I've been working a lot with the nine gatekeepers, and I've been working, the nine infernal gatekeepers. I've been working a lot with the nine infernal kings. I've been working with a lot of demons lately, and I mean a lot of demons, not just the Tower of Atropi and Zashira, the Witch of the Vile Depths, the Hag of the Pit, and the Witches of the Depths, along with the Drelith, the Sadi, the Draconic, and most importantly, Chernobog and Azazel. Okay, getting acquainted with the tower, the lords and ladies of that tower, and so forth. But I figured while I was doing this, cleaning out my altar room and my inner sanctum, I figured what I could do because I came across something that kind of piqued my interest. And there was a profile when I was checking my messages on Facebook that popped up. A guy had his face in the center and he had demonic sigils around in a circle. And it was like, that kind of looked cool. Whereas mine is just spread out on the wall, in lines. I want to do something different. I want to do something unique. So I started planning while I was doing this, like I said, and I got it broken down. I just got to get the rest of it off the wall so I can actually begin anew. But for right now, my altar is up and running. My altar table's up and running. The circle on the floor is up and running. I just got to do one more circle for the altar table. But outside of that, it's good to go. I just got to finish up the walls, and I got to finish moving some stuff around in there to make a little bit more room and see if I can't get some more room out, squeeze some more juice out of that lemon, I guess you can call it. So there's a lot that you can do with your sanctum. It's not just the outer sanctum that you got to look at, it's also the inner sanctum. How are you going to approach your outer sanctum? How are you going to approach your inner sanctum? But most importantly, what do you have in both? You know, like I can go through this door over here, and my outer sanctum is a bedroom. Okay, my inner sanctum is a walk-in closet. Some people have actually opened up a closet and put their altars on the floor. Others have actually constructed an altar out in the living room. Okay. Others have just simply dedicated something on a shelf, maybe a bookcase or, a dresser, but it comes down to what you have available so that you can expand on your personal growth, your journey into apotheosis. It's not just throwing something together and just say, well, it's done for the rest of my life. No, I'm sorry to say, it's not like that. As you grow, your altar grows. When you learn and evolve, so doesn't your sanctums and how you approach them, how you operate. I was talking with a brother of mine, and it's ironic, it's uncanny how old school he and I are. I mean, we're so old school. It's like, you know what? When you got a blood, sigil with blood sorcery on it, shove it in a black cloth or maybe a grisgris bag, black vinyl grisgris bag. Perhaps put it into one of those sleeves that you have in a three-ring binder, to protect it. If you have a grimoire, or some kind of ritual tool, wrap it up in a black cloth. And I mean, it's just like, jeez. It's really uncanny how you have things in common with other practitioners. But we were talking about this, and I told him, I said, "This is what I've been doing. I now have internet. I'm going to be planning some videos, some things to do down the road here, starting tomorrow. If not Sunday. I could probably do 4 videos in between today and tomorrow. That should be cool, and then that'll wrap up this week, right? Nah. It's not a rushing game. It's more about putting the information out there and helping you grow. To kind of teaching you some tricks that will benefit you in the long run. But that's if you choose to heed those tricks. Now, one of the cool things about working, it's probably Michelle calling me. But anyways, when you get into cleaning and cleansing and all that stuff, you're going to learn tricks. You're going to learn things to do, things that will benefit. So when you get it fully constructed again, you really want to consecrate your altar. I mean, if you're into necromancy, bones, ash, blood, gopher dust, sulfur, all this stuff could be laid down to create a barrier. Okay, you could put seals and glyphs up on the walls to keep the prying eyes of the enemy camp out. Okay, think of it like this. EA Quetting did a video. once, and he talked about seals and languages. And ironically, his book, The Grimoire of Abaddon, Volume 4, talked about doing a reverse exorcism. Basically, what you would do is you would call on the archangels and you would banish them. You would give them the opportunity, hey, you either fall on your own and become one of us, or you can get the fuck out and, you know, we're going to mark you for condemnation, damnation, even. Okay? We're just going to slaughter your ass, you know? Get the fuck out of my chamber and don't come back type thing. And that's basically what a reverse exorcism is. And then you can actually set up, the 4 points. Call on, say, for example, the 4 kings, like, say, Belial. If you're going by the 9 infernal gatekeepers, you got Belial, Azazel, a Maimon, and Abaddon. Okay, and these 4 are the pivotal points. Okay, but at the same time, you want to look at who you're working with. Who is your main deity? Okay, for myself, it would be my patron, Zashira, and so I would work with her because she is really heavily into sorcery. She's really heavily into witchcraft. So that would be my patron in this case. So what? Even though I'm working with Zazazel, the buried king, and all that stuff, what I would do was, I would place the 4 cardinal points after I lay down that ash and all that, that blood and all these ingredients. I would call and I'd banish the unwanted energies and currents out. And then what I would do is I would call the 4, you know, gatekeepers, and then start, calling and consecrating and blessing and all that stuff, this sanctuary, and letting them do the same, for the current that I work with. Now, what's ironic here is that even though you've reset it and you've done all this stuff, you really do want to put up seals of, like, say, cloaking, protection, reversal magics, things that will protect you, the 4 cardinal points, even. You want to construct a protective barrier, have a strong foundation within that inner sanctum, because let's face it, that is where you're going to be doing your rituals. That is where you're going to be doing your sorcery, either for yourself, your coven meetings, or even for your clients. So you really wanted to have a pure, unrestricted current. And Ishira Nocturnalis, welcome to the channel. Let's see. That renunciation ritual was the final key which freed me forever from Abrahamic spirits. Indeed. And that's what it is. It's just basically the symbolatry, if you think about it. I mean, look at it this way. In the Bible, you have what is known as the 10 Commandments, right? Now, what happens if you break those commandments? What happens if you violate every single commandment of the 10 Commandments? It's freeing. You gain your power back. You gain freedom, the ability to choose for yourself. More so if you're into sorcery and witchcraft, Satanism, demonolatry, whatever. If you're a witch, a warlock, breaking the 10 Commandments is easy. It's a physical representation. But what about the spiritual? What if you do both? What if you break both? Is that not a form of cleansing your inner temple, your inner sanctuary? Think about that for just a moment. Why is it that every practice has what is known as a baptism, some form of cleansing ritual. Santeria has the bath that has smelly herbs and powders and stuff like that in it where they run it down over you. Native Americans, you have sage, specifically white sage, which they cleanse your aura. That's a ritual. They also have drums, they have chanting, a whole bunch of different things. Christianity, the baptism, Satanism, the unholy baptism, the unholy elixir. You know, there's a lot that you can do within a form of cleansing and sanitizing your aura, your temple. You got to remember that this is a temple, not just your ritual chamber, which actually brings up a very good point, Ishira, because of the fact that this is your body, this is your temple, okay? You're sharing this every time you evoke a demon into yourself or even a spirit. If you do a seance, that spirit is coming into you, okay? It's coming into you. It's not just going into your altar room, but it's going into you. Both places are temples. Both places are like a body. And depending if you're solitary or a coven setting, brings in a lot more factors. But either way, you want to consecrate, you want to sanctify, you want to bless and prepare these things for the type of rituals that you're doing and for the currents that you're working with. One of which I would recommend, say, for an example, dragon's blood, myrrh, and frankincense. Creates a magical protection bubble around your home. Doing a sea salt bath. Sea salt is the most purest stuff on earth. It's a cleansing solution. White sage only cleanses the air and the energies, the feng shui, if you wish. But that's as far as that goes. There's so much that you can do, so much that you can utilize at your disposal. And this is stuff that you'll learn over your career as a sorcerer or a sorceress, a witch or warlock. Okay? But you got to understand that there's so much that you have at your disposal that you can use that most people don't even consider. A lot of people will just sit there, well, I don't like the vibes here, so I'm going to move the furniture around. Well, you know what? That's one way of correcting a, bad mojo. But it doesn't stop a curse and it doesn't stop a hex or even a jinx for that matter. Things that you can get at your local grocery store can cleanse you. It's not just the foods that you eat, that you ingest, or the drinks that you can partake in. Okay, you can get some very well known gratification from the alcohol, but it's definitely relaxing. Or even the herbs of the field. I mean, remember, even the Abrahamic God gave man full control over everything. So he can't be sitting back there bitching about it now. Being that little Indian giver, as they say. And yes, I happen to be Native American on my dad's side, so I get to pick on my own self. But, anyways, my point is this: learn for yourself, not for someone else. A lot of people will lead you down a desolate road, so it is always best to do your own homework. Not everybody is going to help you along your journey. They can give suggestions, they can open the doors, but you have to be the one to accept them, to walk through those doors. All right? For now, that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you, Ashera, for jumping on here with me. And for those of you who will jump on after this, thank you. And for those of you who like this channel and what I do, thank you for being here. Have a good night, and until next time.